When Nia returned to Irua at dawn, the sun had just risen over the twin rivers, painting the red clay huts in gold. The village stirred awake, women pounding yam, men gathering firewood, children laughing at the sight of dew on elephant grass. But when they saw her walking barefoot along the path, a hush fell over them. For Nia's feet touched the earth, but no darkness followed. She cast no shadow. The elders gasped and covered their mouths with their wrappers. The old women wailed softly, "A soul untethered walks among us." Mothers clutched their children close, men muttered prayers to the ancestors. But the children, oh, the children, they stared in awe. "Look," one whispered. "She walks like sunlight." At first, the people feared her. But fear, like rain, can feed curiosity. When Nia touched the river, fish leapt willingly into her hands. When she whispered to the wind, dust storms parted to reveal hidden yams buried deep in the soil. Her voice calmed crying infants, her song healed withered plants. Soon, the elders came to her with their troubles. "Nia, the rains have not come." She sang, and clouds gathered. "Nia, my child is ill." She hummed, and fevers broke. The village named her Nia the Blessed, and they laid gifts at her feet, cowrie shells, palm oil, carved gourds of honey. Drums sang her praises long into the night. Nia who walks without shadow. Nia whose voice calls the rain. Nia whose hands mend the broken. But though her feet danced in celebration, her heart whispered questions she dared not ask. For when the sun was high and the earth glowed bright, she felt light, too light, as though the wind might carry her away. At night, when others slept, Nia walked to the riverbank and gazed into the water. She saw her face, the same dark eyes, the same slender neck, but no shadow lingered beneath her reflection. The river whispered to her in its eternal voice. "One who walks without a shadow walks half a life. One who trades the dark forgets the weight of light." And though she did not understand the words, a hollowness gnawed at her, a quiet ache, like a song missing its final note. Whispers from the east. While Irua sang her name, far to the east the forest sang another. In its depths, where sunlight never reached and roots knotted like snakes, Azo walked with her shadow. And the shadow, freed from her body, began to change. No longer bound to Nia's feet, it learned to move alone. It learned to speak, though its voice was low and trembling. And as it followed Azo deeper into the forest, it began to hunger for what, it did not yet know. "Patience," Azo whispered, feeding it words like bitter fruit. "You are no longer a prisoner. You are becoming." Seasons shifted in Irua. The Harmattan winds gave way to rains, and rains to dry heat. Through it all, Nia's fame grew. Her name carried beyond the twin rivers, traders from distant villages came to see the girl of no shadow. They brought salt, woven cloth, and carved ivory as offerings. They knelt before her, begging for blessings, rain for their crops, healing for their wounds, safe journeys across lion country. Nia gave freely, and with each miracle, the people sang louder. But with each miracle, the hollow inside her deepened. It was during the festival of New Yam that the first sign came. The festival was the beating heart of Irua, a time when drummers drummed until their palms bled, when masquerades danced in painted masks, and the air smelled of roasted maize and palm wine. The people dressed in their finest, wrappers dyed with indigo, beads shining like stars. Children laughed, women ululated, men beat talking drums that told stories of ancestors. At the center of the festival stood Nia, crowned with palm fronds. "Sing for her," the griots cried. "Sing for the girl who walks in sunlight moon alone." The drums thundered. Praise poured over her like rain. But as she raised her hands to bless the crowd, something strange happened. The sunlight around her bent, shimmering, twisting, pulling toward her palms. The air thickened. The people gasped as the sky darkened, though no cloud crossed the sun. Then, in the silence, came a voice, low and ragged, carried on the wind. "Do you remember me?" Nia froze. She looked around. No lips moved, no eyes met hers. The voice was inside her bones. "Do you remember what you left behind?" She stumbled backward. The crowd thought it part of the blessing and cheered louder. But inside, Nia's heart thundered. For though the voice was faint, she knew it. It was hers and not hers. Her shadow had spoken. Far to the east, deep in the forest where Azo walked, the shadow stirred. It no longer crawled behind him like an obedient pet, it stood beside him now, walking with feet that left no prints. "What do you seek?" Azo asked, voice smooth as silk. "Myself," the shadow whispered. "I seek her. Do you wish to return?" The shadow hesitated. Its hollow eyes gleamed faintly. "I wish to be whole. But I do not wish to be her slave again." Azo smiled. "Good. For you are no longer bound. Soon, you will walk where she walks. Soon, you will teach her what freedom costs." That night, after the festival, Nia dreamed. She dreamed of standing at the river. The water was black as oil, reflecting no stars. Across the river stood a figure, a girl shaped like her, but hollow-eyed and trembling. The figure lifted a hand, and Nia felt cold seep into her bones. "You took the light," the figure whispered. "I kept the dark. But dark and light cannot live apart forever." When Nia woke, the river's whisper echoed in her ears. One cannot live without what one leaves behind. In the days after the New Yam festival, the people of Irua continued to sing Nia's name, but their songs changed. Praise, once joyous, grew hesitant. Mothers whispered as she passed, men bowed lower than before, not out of reverence but fear. Children still followed her, but with wide eyes, as if unsure whether to laugh or run. For her blessings had begun to twist. The first sign came when the hunters prayed for rain. The yam fields had cracked under the dry wind, the goats bleated in thirst. Nia climbed the hill and sang to the sky, as she always did. "Clouds of the east, come forth. Rivers of heaven, open your doors." At her words, rain came, thick, drumming rain that soaked the earth. The villagers rejoiced, dancing barefoot in the mud. But the rain did not stop. For 3 days and nights, it fell. The river swelled and swallowed the banks. Huts of mud collapsed. Chickens drowned. On the 4th day, the people begged her to stop the storm. Nia sang again, this time to the sun. The rain ceased, but so did the wind. For 2 weeks, the air lay heavy and still, no leaf stirred, no bird sang. Crops withered. The elders whispered, a gift too great becomes a curse. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, a child vanished. Little Kofi, no more than 5 rains old, wandered too close to the twin rivers. When his mother found him, he stood knee-deep in the water, eyes wide, staring at nothing. "Kofi," she cried, dragging him to shore. But the boy only pointed at the river and whispered, trembling, "I saw her." The girl with empty eyes. The villagers shuddered. For there was only one girl who walked without a shadow, and only one who could have an empty reflection. Fearing calamity, the elders sought the wisdom of Mama Esh, the oldest woman in Irua, a diviner whose eyes had not seen sunlight in 30 years, yet who saw farther than any living soul. She sat in her shrine, surrounded by bones of fowl, cowrie shells, and calabashes filled with sacred water. Mema Esh cast the shells and listened to their rattle. She touched the earth, then raised her face to the wind. Her voice broke the silence. "The girl walks in light, but her other walks in dark. 2 halves sundered will seek each other. When they meet, rivers will run backward, and the earth will not know which is day and which is night." The elders trembled. "What must we do?" they asked. Mama Esh shook her head. "Pray that the halves never meet." Far to the east, deep in the whispering forest, Azo watched as Nia's shadow learned to stand alone. No longer a trembling silhouette, it now walked with purpose, its hollow eyes glinting faint light. "Do you feel it?" Azo murmured. "Her fear grows. And fear is a rope, it will pull her to you." The shadow did not speak. It reached upward instead, fingers stretching toward a shaft of moonlight filtering through the trees. The moment the light touched its form, something strange happened. The shadow flickered, and vanished. A heartbeat later, it reappeared not in the forest, but beside the river in Irua. Hidden from human eyes, it watched Nia as she slept beneath the baobab tree, face peaceful, chest rising and falling. It reached toward her, almost touching, then drew back. When it returned to Azo, it whispered its first words of defiance. "I do not need you." Azo only smiled. "Good. Soon, you will not need anyone." Nia's nights grew restless. She dreamed of hollow eyes watching her from every corner, of whispers curling like smoke through her mind. In her dreams, the river called her name. Nia. Nia, you left me behind. She awoke with sweat on her brow, heart pounding. But when she rose to fetch water at dawn, she saw it, her reflection in the river, smiling back at her. Only this time, the reflection blinked first. Strange things began to happen in the village. Fires lit themselves at night. Calabashes cracked without touch. Children woke screaming of a girl made of darkness standing over their mats. The hunters whispered, "It is her power. It has grown wild." The mothers whispered, "No, it is what she cast away, returning." One morning, 3 women went to pound yam and found handprints, black, elongated, smeared across the mortar. No one saw who left them. But they were too small to belong to a man, and too large for a child. Nia herself felt the shift. Her blessings no longer obeyed her. When she sang for wind, storms came. When she prayed for calm, silence smothered the land. The hollowness in her chest widened, and with it came a hunger she did not understand. Once, a boy scraped his knee, and she placed her hands to heal him. But instead of soothing, her touch pulled warmth, life draining from the boy's skin into her palms. He fainted, and the villagers gasped. "Blessed girl," the elders said carefully, "your gift is changing." Far to the east, Azo laughed in the forest. "Do you feel it?" he asked the shadow. She falters. She stumbles. Soon, she will crawl back to you. But the shadow no longer listened. It had learned to slip between places, from forest to village, from darkness to darkness. It hid in water jars, in the flicker of fire, in the glint of polished gourds. It watched Nia not with longing, but curiosity. One night, it whispered to a child's ear as he slept, "She does not belong." The next day, the child would not meet Nia's gaze. Soon, others followed. While the shadow wandered, Azo knelt at a sacred grove, placing offerings of kola and blood on the earth. "O spirits of the between," he murmured, "I bring you halves of one soul. When they meet, open the gate." For Azo was not merely a traveler, he was a gatekeeper of forgotten realms, seeking to tear the veil between worlds. Nia's shadow was his key, and her light the lock. By the 3rd moon after the New Yam festival, Iruwa was no longer the same. Where once children had chased Nia with laughter, now they hid behind their mother's wrappers. Where once elders had sung blessings, now they muttered prayers when she passed. Every strange mishap, a goat wandering off, a hut collapsing, a child falling sick, was blamed on her. "The girl without a shadow has angered the spirits," they whispered. One night, as the wind howled through the baobab trees, the elders gathered in the council hut. They sat in a circle, firelight flickering over carved faces. Memar Esh, the blind diviner, sat in the center, her cowrie shells clutched tight. "She is no longer blessed," one elder said. "She is a danger," said another. "Shall we cast her out?" Memar Esh raised a trembling hand. "Do not cast her out," she warned. "A soul divided seeks itself. If you drive her away, the halves will meet too soon. But fear is a river that knows no dam. Once it begins to flow, it cannot be stopped." It happened on a night when the moon was thin and pale, like a sliver of bone. A child woke screaming, claimed he saw Nia standing at his bedside, though she had been asleep by the river. By morning, the rumor had spread, the shadow walker steals children's souls. When Nia entered the market to fetch water, the first stone flew. Then another. Then another. "Leave us," the people shouted. "Take your curse with you." Nia did not cry. She did not shout. She only turned and walked to the riverbank, where her empty reflection waited. At dawn, she went to Memar Esh. The old woman sat cross-legged, eyes closed, head tilted as if listening to distant drums. "You seek your other half," Memar Esh murmured before Nia could speak. "Yes," Nia whispered. "If I find her, will the curse end?" Memar Esh traced patterns in the dust. "When sun meets shadow, light will tremble. You may find peace, or you may lose yourself." The diviner pressed a gourd into Nia's hands, water blessed with kola and ash. "Drink only when the path grows darkest," she said. "And remember this, not every darkness is your enemy, and not every light is your friend. Before the first rooster crowed, Nia left Iruwa. Barefoot, with only a woven mat and Mamaresh scored, she walked east toward the whispering forest. The path was long, winding through tall elephant grass and termite hills shaped like watchtowers. Hyenas laughed in the distance. Nightbirds called her name. Behind her, the village slept uneasily. Ahead, the forest waited, and within it, her shadow. Far in the depths, Azo smiled. The trap was set.